What's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome in as we are live here on the Thursday, breaking down everything you need to know around your favorite football team. We got some trade rumors. We're going to be talking about 5 players that the Vikings could potentially trade for at the deadline. And I do want to give you guys a lot of my thoughts on the Steelers matchup Week 4, as the Vikings are across the pond right now in Dublin, Ireland. But speaking about that Week 4 matchup, if you guys want the Vikings to beat the Steelers, hit me with a SKOL down below in the comments section. Got Ryan Manley in the building. Clay was holding it down. What's going on, Clay? Munkus, Machinator, Staley, Eel in the house. Mark C saying it's fade seep season. Shout out to Mark C. Z Cool in the building. Lee Hefner in the building. Matt Slade saying SKOL from Hawaii. Same with John Lee, Jacob Dong, Gavin, Joe Thompson, Gilbert, Noah Carl, Reed Southern, Cody. All the real ones are in the building. Very excited for this game. Anytime we get to take on our good old friend Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a good event, and I'm excited for it. But I do want to start off today's show asking you guys this question. Who is the more important player? I've seen this getting debated on social media here and there, just talking about, Christian Darrisaw's impact, how impactful he truly was being back in the lineup this past week. So let me ask you guys this. Who is more important? 71 for Christian Darrisaw, or give me an 18 for Justin Jefferson, as Reed Southern is rolling with Jettas. Corey's going with Darrisaw. Kellen saying 71. John Lee, 71. Vikings going 71. So you guys are all saying 71. I am shocked by this. I thought it was going to be pretty 50-50, but clearly with how bad the offense was for 7 of the first 8 quarters without Darrisaw, and then he comes back and you're able to put up, 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals this past weekend. So I understand that. Now, listen, Darrisaw is incredibly important to this team. He is the second most important player, but I still think Justin Jefferson's number 1. The whole offense is ran through Jefferson. The looks he gets every single week, he opens up, obviously, opportunities for himself, but also others. I would slightly go Justin Jefferson, but I was just pretty curious what you guys had to say. 71 for Darrisaw or 18 for Jefferson. Manley going 18. JJ opens up the offense. Joe Black saying Addison is back. Jordan Addison is back. Kevin O'Connell saying he's looking great. Fresh legs for this Vikings wide receiver room, so that's going to be awesome stuff. But I can't wait, man. It's going to be a fun game this weekend. I do got the Vikings winning this game 23-13. And I think the storyline of this game, in obviously not prime time, but a standalone game, a lot of eyeballs on this matchup. I think the storyline is going to be Brian Flores. And honestly, I think the story around the Vikings this season will be flow. Now, obviously, we thought coming into the year it was going to be around, J.J. McCarthy, the offense, the quarterback position. But I think this Vikings defense is going to be the best unit, not only just singular offense, singular defense. I think it's going to be the best unit in the NFL when it's all said and done. I mean, what they did last week, again, I understand it's a backup quarterback, but you still had Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and they were absolutely awesome. They can get home with 4 now. Hargrave, Allen, they've lived up to the hype. And then you also just got 2 young guys on the interior, Jalen Redmond, Levi Drake Rodriguez. Those guys are going to continue to get better each and every week. And we don't even have Blake Cashman. So once you get Cashman back in the fold, obviously Van Ginkel, TBD if he'll play this upcoming weekend. He re-aggravated that neck, so he's been on the injury report. But even if he can't go, you still got Dallas Turner, still got Jonathan Gennard. The secondary has been a huge, huge surprise. Isaiah Rodgers, so far he's been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL this season. And then all of the safeties have played well. I think what's so promising about this defense is we truly thought that, the biggest concern was the secondary. But the secondary has been one of their strengths so far. You blanketed Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And now it's just going to come down to, can you stop the run at a high level? And I think the Vikings 100% can. Obviously the Falcons ran all over them, but defense was on the field a lot. Bijan Robinson, all-time great talent. Sometimes you just need to tip your cap. But I think this defense is going to only get better and better throughout the year. And all credit to Brian Flores. And honestly, if you guys have access to the All-22 film, go back and just watch every Vikings defensive play. It is so much fun to watch. The creative looks that Flores gives, it's truly unique. And it's funny, when you say, oh, what scheme do the Vikings run? They run the Flores chaos scheme, whatever you want to call it. There is no base. There is really no, trends to follow. It's just chaos on every single play. It switches drive to drive. You don't know what he's going to deploy. So I'll credit to Brian Flores, man. He has been absolutely fantastic this season. John Lee in the building. What's going on? Mark in the house. Joe Black, how did the hitman look? Harrison Smith looked great. He looked great in his return. Is Mike G saying Seeps is a stud? Guy just wins in life. I appreciate you, Mike G. Shout out to you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Mark 3 deep is fire. Best trio in football. Yeah, we'll see. I'm guessing it's going to be Naylor being the wide receiver 3 this week. Thielen will still be heavily involved, especially when the Vikings are trying to get downhill more, as he's the best run blocking wide receiver on the team. So, but on true passing downs, when the Vikings are in 13 personnel, I am assuming it's going to be Naylor out there. But we'll see what happens. But coming up on today's show, I do want to get you guys the latest injury updates around the Steelers and the Vikings, and then we'll dive into a fun segment, 5 blockbuster trade targets where the Vikings are going all in on this season, getting aggressive at the deadline, and then we will have a mailbag coming up. So if you guys could get those questions in there, hashtag Vikings. Let's get them in the comment section down below, and we'll dive into a mailbag here in about 30 or 40 minutes or so. And if you guys are ready to rock and roll, hit that thumbs up icon. Got almost 200 people in the building. If you guys could hit that thumbs up button. I will say, waking up this morning, I am so pissed I'm not in Ireland right now. I would absolutely love to get some coverage out there for you guys, have a couple of Guinnesses, just enjoy Ireland and then go watch the game. Obviously down here in Dallas, Texas, and I love Dallas, but it's no Ireland. I would love to be there, but it's also funny, like the Rooneys, I've seen this little debate on Twitter. Who is the advantage between the Vikings and the Steelers, where it's like the Vikings got a redhead at quarterback, but obviously the Rooneys, the owners of the Steelers, are heavily connected in Ireland. It should pretty much be a home game for Pittsburgh. At least that's what the early reports are indicating. There's a lot more Steelers fans over there. So even though obviously way better playing the Steelers in Ireland compared to that Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, but there's still going to be a lot of Steelers fans over there. But I can't wait for the game, man. I love these international games. Wake up in the morning, have some coffee, and watch the Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully it doesn't ruin our entire day. But also, I've seen this funny stat, throw it out there. Kevin O'Connell with a redhead at quarterback, I believe, is now 15-4 with a redheaded quarterback. So shout out to KOC. Great stat. Or 14-4, I believe. Yeah, 14-4. 13-4 Darnold, now 1-0 this year. So it's pretty funny stuff. Or no, Darnold won 15 games last year. So he's 16-4 with a redhead at quarterback. So shout out to KOC. But if you guys could, hit that thumbs up icon. Once we get 10 more likes, we'll dive into some Week 4 injury updates. Also talk about some of my top matchups that I want to watch. But hit that thumbs up icon. Just need 11 more people to like today's stream, and we'll dive on into it. Yeah, 8:30 Central Time. So we will be live here on the channel at about 7:15, 7:30. So Dylan and I, it's going to be an early morning for us, but I can't wait, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then I actually get to watch and enjoy the rest of the games that day, which will be a great, great time. But if you guys could, hit that thumbs up icon, 3 likes away, and then we'll dive into it. There we go, 51 likes. So if you guys are ready to rock and roll, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Week 4 injury updates, plus another preview against the Steelers, blockbuster trade targets, mailbag. Let's dive into it. What's going on, everybody? You're watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we got some big-time injury news heading into this Vikings-Steelers Week 4 matchup, so we'll get you guys the info there. And then also some of the top matchups that you guys need to watch out for. Dive into a little bit of more of an in-depth preview on the second half of today's show. But these 5 guys are officially ruled out for this game. Alex Highsmith, one of the better edge rushers in the league, will be missing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Isaiah Loudermilk, defensive tackle, will also be out. Obviously, no Blake Cashman on short-term IR. Aaron Jones on short-term IR. But the biggest new injury news this week for the Vikings, Donovan Jackson, left guard, is going to miss probably both games across the pond, and hopefully he's back Week 7 against the Philadelphia Eagles, but we'll see. But those 3, pretty big injuries for the Vikings. You're able to manage them last week, but we'll see if they can do that again this week. Now, the Thursday injury report just came out. Christian Darrisaw, everybody relax. I can already see people freaking out. He was a DNP, but this is not injury-related. It is just a rest day as he's still rehabbing from this ACL, MCL injury. Javon Hargrave, though, good news. He did not participate during Wednesday's practice, but he was limited on Thursday. Donovan Jackson, he'll be DNPs probably for the next 2 weeks. Ryan Kelly practiced in full, so it's going to be nice to have Ryan Kelly back out there. J.J. McCarthy, DMP, obviously. Josh Metellus back to full as well. Jalen Redmond full, School full. But Andrew Van Ginkel, that's the kicker here, DMP. And this is also tweeted out by Emily Leaker, saying this. CJ Ham was on the rehab field working out with a trainer. He'll be eligible for return from IR after Sunday. Now, I will say, getting CJ Ham back, I think is bigger than people think. I don't know the exact snap count, but I saw a stat out there, and it was teams that run fullbacks. I think it was more than 30 times, or it was either like 20 or 25 times a game. Their combined record this season is 8-1. Now, obviously, with the Vikings trying to be a more improved run team, get these teams, out of just cover two, where they have to bring another guy in the box to stop the run. Having CJ Ham will be so important. So I expect him to be out there versus the Browns, and I can see him making a pretty big time impact right away. But this is the kicker: Andrew Van Ginkel dealing with that neck injury. Now, Andrew Van Ginkel, obviously, if he can't go, it would be a big loss. Van Ginkel, in my opinion, is probably the second most important player on this Vikings defense outside of Jonathan Grenard, but we know what he brings to the table. Extremely versatile guy. You can line him up anywhere on the football field, and he is such a problem for opposing offenses because you truly don't know what he's doing on any given play. Is he going to be manned up with your slot wide receiver? Is he going to be manned up with your tight end? Is he going to be blitzing? Is he going to be dropping back into a deep half, or is he going to be dropping to the flat? His versatility is so valuable with this Flores defense. So even though he only played 8 snaps this past week, did have 2 sacks, and the defense still played very, very well, there's no doubt not having Van Ginkel out there could be a big loss. But also I will say, I would anticipate he doesn't play. Van Ginkel is a very physical football player. This guy loves to hit. And dealing with that neck injury, also coming off a concussion, I'm guessing the Vikes are going to probably play this safe, and Van Ginkel will probably not be out there. But, hey, no excuse. You should still beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. But Javon Hargrave, another big-time injury to monitor. Him being limited today, I think, is a step in the right direction. So I would assume Hargrave's going to be out there. But he is just dealing with that chest injury, forced him to miss the second half of the Week 3 game versus the Bengals. But he should be ready to go. And obviously, Javon Hargrave's been awesome this year. Been great at getting to the quarterback. He's also been pretty damn good against the run as well. But one huge injury to follow for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Joey Porter Jr. His status is TBD right now with a hamstring injury. But if he can't go, this would be a massive loss for the Steelers defense. Because right now they got Jalen Ramsey, and they got Darius Slay, they got Joey Porter Jr. They actually have a solid trio of cornerbacks. But they move Ramsey all over the field. They kind of use Ramsey as the same way the Vikings use Josh Metellus for an easy comparison for you guys. But what they like to do with Joey Porter, he likes to get up on the line of scrimmage, jam wide receivers. Now, the one kind of style of cornerback that has gave Jefferson fits in the past are those very aggressive press man corners. They're getting super grabby. A guy like DJ Reed last year in London got super aggressive, super grabby with Justin Jefferson, and he actually had a hell of a performance. So if Joey Porter can't go, I fully expect Jefferson to have a masterful game where I'm talking over 100 yards, maybe finds the end zone a couple times, but this is going to be a key injury to follow. And if he can't go, that would be big-time news for the Vikings offense. But let me ask you guys this on Justin Jefferson. Hasn't broke 100 yards just yet this season. You guys let me know. Over under 99.5 yards for Justin Jefferson on Sunday. Give me an O for over. Give me a U for under. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. Now we'll dive into a more in-depth preview of this Vikings-Steelers game here in just a second. But today's episode is brought to you guys by PrizePicks. And you and I make decisions every day. But on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. And if you guys download the app today, plug in promo code CLNS will hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And it's super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40-plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They're also super user-friendly, like I was saying, so they offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. So download the PrizePicks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, let's talk about the Vikings-Steelers game here. Want to go over top 5 matchups that I'm going to be keeping my eyes out on. And I think the biggest matchup is actually with a Vikings stepping in this week, and that being Blake Brandel. Obviously was the starting left guard for all 17 games for the Vikings this past season. So Blake Brandel, he's taking on Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward, and we talk about guys beating Father Time. You think of like Calais Campbell, you think of LeBron James. Cam Hayward is still right up there. Like Cam Hayward, I'm pretty sure, just going to double check this here real quick. Pretty sure he's 37 years old, 36 years old, and he's still one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. So he is fantastic. And you got this matchup in the trenches where you got the Vikings offensive line now with Blake Brandel in there instead of Donovan Jackson, which is also unfortunate. We have not seen the Vikings full starting 5 offensive line get a single rep this season so far, so probably won't come until week 7 against the Eagles, barring any injuries. But it's going to be a great matchup in the trenches. Like, you got Darrisaw going against Nick Herbig. You got Brian O'Neill going against T.J. Watt, Derek Harmon versus Will Fries, Keanu Benton versus Ryan Kelly. But you have that matchup, Cam Hayward versus Blake Brandel. Now, Cam Hayward, he is a game wrecker. Like, he is a guy who can completely stop the run. He can get pressure from the interior. And this is going to be a tough matchup from Brandel. Now, if the Vikings didn't have Christian Darrisaw in this matchup, I would be even more concerned about this. But Brandel looked good last year when Darrisaw was playing. Like, I think we all remember Brandel and how bad he was specifically in the Week 18 game versus the Lions and that one playoff game versus the Rams. We just kind of think he is, just not as good as how truly good he is. Because when Darrisaw was playing, like 63.1 overall PFF grade, 63.8 in the pass block, 65.6 in the run block, and only allowed 10 pressures in 7 games. So you'll take that production, but this is going to be one of the top matchups I'm going to be looking forward to in this game. And then number 2, the matchup I'm looking forward to every week is whoever the hell the opposing quarterback is going against Brian Flores. Now, a little hot take, bold prediction for the rest of the NFL season. I think one of the top storylines this year is going to be Brian Flores, not only for the Minnesota Vikings, but the entire league. I think just how unique and how chaotic his scheme is, where the Vikings are the only team in the NFL that runs a defense like this. Like, they are, in my opinion, they're must-watch TV defensively every single week, and that's because of Brian Flores. So I think he is going to be one of the top storylines when this Vikings defense is number 1 in the league throughout the entire season. Brian Flores is getting a lot of love, and he should. And he also got the better of Aaron Rodgers last year. Aaron Rodgers was flat out terrible against the Vikings in London. 29 of 54. He threw the ball 54 times, only had 244 yards. Threw 3 interceptions, had a quarterback rating of 54.9. And there's no doubt, like, on paper, the Vikings should have Aaron Rodgers going back into the darkness for another retreat. Like, the Steelers can't run the ball. What's the one thing that a Brian Flores defense is susceptible to? Is if you start running the football, you get those play action games going, you start attacking over the middle of the field. Like, that's really the only formula to beat this Brian Flores defense. Well, the Steelers, they're the worst rushing offense in the league. So if you can't run the ball and you're asking Aaron Rodgers to sit back and just pass the entire game, he's going to get his ass kicked. Because Rodgers, he's just not that good anymore. Now, he can still show some flashes. Like, Rodgers, like, being those all-time great talents, you never really lose your fastball, and he still has his fastball, but he's just not as mobile as he once was. Like, obviously, he's 41 years old, and I could see the Vikings getting to him, home early in this game and really starting to beat him up. And, obviously Rodgers, he loves to get the ball out quick this season. A lot of the Steelers' offense, it's either, underneath stuff or they're throwing streak routes to DK Metcalf. Well, if you're taking all the underneath stuffs over and over again, that's where, like we saw last year in London, a Van Ginkel pick 6. Maybe it's Josh Patelis getting an interception, because if you just take all the underneath stuff against the Vikings, you're going to make a wrong read eventually. Just because of how chaotic and how different their scheme is, you're going to mess up. So seeing those two battle, I can't wait. Obviously, Rodgers still an all-time great, but the guy just can't move anymore, and I think that's a huge advantage for Brian Flores. And, obviously offensively for the Vikings, it all starts with the run in this game. And it's going to be Jordan Mason versus Steelers linebackers, because Jordan Mason, I think he's a top 5 running back in the league. People will call me crazy for saying that. I think he's that special. And, the advanced numbers don't lie with this. EPA per rush, he's first. Success rate, Mason's first. Yards per carry, he's 5th. Rushing yards over expected, 2nd in the league. He's actually third in the league now. This was made before David Montgomery ran wild against Baltimore Ravens, but still top 3 in that. And I just think Jordan Mason, like if you want to get this Vikings offense truly going, get him downhill, get Carson Wentz some easy looks, get him in rhythm. It starts with running the football, and that again begins with number 27, Jordan Mason. So get him the ball. Patrick Queen, see if you can tackle this guy in the hole. I got my money on 27 though, and fourth for me. The Vikings wide receivers versus the single high safety looks that the Steelers give. Now, the Steelers are, I'm going to say, pretty stingy in their ways. Like, obviously, when it comes to Brian Flores, his defense can adjust for whatever matchup he is playing. But the Steelers, they will run single high no matter who they're playing. And this stat coming in from Matt Williamson, the Steelers have a single high safety in the middle of the field at the league's highest rate, 68.2%, and the Vikings have the league's lowest at 25.2%. The Vikings, under the KOC, Jefferson, Jordan Addison era, they kill single high safety. So I'll be really curious to see if the Steelers try to adjust this. Maybe they run a lot more cover 2, but again, if you're going to run that too high, watch out. Then we're just going to run the ball. That's why this Vikings offense, once they really start to get going, they get the run game, they get Addison back, hopefully get some good quarterback play, like they can really get hot and dominate a team. And I think if the Vikings are able to protect and Wentz is accurate in this game, Jordan Addison should feast. I can't wait to see number 3 back out there because the Steelers are running single high safety. It's kind of simple. That safety will shade 18's way. And if you're shading 18's way and you only got a single high safety, that just means you got a DB one-on-one with Jordan Addison, and that's not going to go well. Now, if the Steelers can get home, if they can get some pressure on Wentz, that can kind of take that away. But if Wentz has time and he sees Jefferson, single highs going his way, and he got number 3 on the other side running whatever route he's running, he'll be open. So I love that advantage for the Vikings. And lastly here, the Vikings corners versus Steelers wide receivers. Advantage should be in favor of the Vikings. The Steelers wide receiver room, now again, the Steelers will also run multiple tight end sets majority of the time. They really only like 2 wide receivers, that being DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin. But with both those guys, the Vikings are going to need the tackle this Sunday. Because the Steelers, they'll throw a quick out, to DK Metcalf, which probably might be the way they try to, navigate this Flores system. Or they'll just throw, DK on a streak route, and those Vikings corners are going to have to make a play. But especially with Calvin Austin, got to tackle that guy. Missed tackles can't happen this weekend, but very excited for this matchup. I'm also very confident in the Vikings getting a win. But where do you guys stand? What is your confidence level in the Vikings beating the Steelers? I'm at like a 9.95 right now. I'm feeling good heading into this game. I just think the Vikings defense, Steelers offense, like I would be stunned if they get the 20 points this Sunday, and I would be stunned if the Vikings offense doesn't at least get to 20. So I think this could potentially be a blowout. My original score prediction was 23-13. I may have to change that. I may have to maybe go 30-10 or something. I'm just confident in this Vikings defense. I could even see Van Ginkel getting another touchdown this weekend. But you guys let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes. Alrighty, you guys let me know. What's your confidence level? I'm sitting at about 9.5. I'm feeling good. Feeling good heading into this game. Crypto in the building saying sheesh. What's going on, man? Chad Shaw in the house. Type in his 11s. Gavin, what was the trade? We're going to talk about the trades coming up here in a second. The Steelers will be the home team in Dublin. Yes, they will. Another blowout game would be crazy. Yeah, that's also, maybe I should take that back. When was the last time the Vikings had blown out teams back-to-back weeks? That never happens. But I definitely think the Vikings defense is going to be the story of this game. Steelers offense just stinks. They've been bad. They've had offensive line issues for the last couple of years. They can't run the football. They got an immobile quarterback. Like, just on paper, that's like the worst case scenario for an offense. Like, it's kind of similar to the Bengals last week, except the Bengals had T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, where you got, a quarterback, statuesque. You can't run the football. Obviously, Rodgers is significantly better than Jake Browning, but still, just on paper, this Vikings defense should, have themselves a day. But we'll get into a mailbag here in about 15 minutes or so. So if you guys got a question for me, hashtag Vikings in the live chat right now. We're going to need some more questions. So if you guys could get those down below in the live chat, just ask whatever you want and then attach hashtag Vikings. Twisted Wizard, get a question in there. Z Cool, Noah Carl, Clay, if you guys could all ask some questions, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Unfortunately, Board saying, honestly, I don't think the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they would go far. Hey, you go far. That's still a win on the season for me. What about the trade rumors? We're gonna dive into the trade rumors here in a second. Ryan Manley saying I'm at a 9 confidence wise. If Carson blows out the Steelers, he's QB1 moving forward. That's a conversation we'll have next week. We'll have that conversation next week, Ryan. I disagree with you, but also it's not like I don't understand where you're coming from. It's just me. Vikings Twitter and Vikings media. If Carson Wentz goes 2-0, those 2 weeks leading up to that Eagles game, normally bye weeks are super boring for NFL fans. If he goes 2-0, oh my God, those 2 weeks are going to be absolute chaos. Who's starting? Is it JJ? Is it Wentz? Like every O'Connell quote, we're going to be hanging on to it with dear life. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it starts with going 2-0. So we'll dive into these blockbuster trade targets here in a couple of seconds. But if you guys, again, could get those questions in there, hashtag Vikings down below in the live chat. And if you guys are ready to talk about the trade deadline, still a couple of weeks away. Let me actually look that up. What's the date this year? NFL trade deadline this season is Tuesday, November 4th. Tuesday, November 4th. All right. If you guys are ready to roll, trade targets for the Minnesota Vikings. Let's dive on into it. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, 5 blockbuster trade targets for your Minnesota Vikings. You know, after the 2-1 start, the Vikings can rip off some wins here across the pond. Maybe they try to get super aggressive at the deadline, and you know they have the ammunition to do so. The Vikings stockpiled 2026 draft picks this past offseason. You know, trading Harrison Phillips away, trading a Mekhi Blackman away. They clearly wanted to add more draft capital in 2026, and they did that. They got 11 picks total, and you also got some cap space, $15.57 million. There's always ways to create more. You can, restructure contracts. There's a way to get that number up if you really are trying to go out all out and bring a guy in. But before we dive into it, if you guys could, make sure you guys are subscribed today. We got a little sub battle going on with our Steelers Talk channel. Now, we originally had this as a race to 100 subscribers, but both fan bases crushed it. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button today, maybe we'll change this to a race to 500 subs. So if you guys want to help us beat Steelers Talk, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button today. Don't miss a thing around your Minnesota Vikings. All right, very clear here, and I probably don't need to say this, but the Vikings will only get aggressive at the trade deadline if they win the next 2 weeks. Like, that is the only possible scenario. Like, if they go 1-1, they're 3-2. Now, maybe obviously if they beat the Eagles week 7, then maybe they could get back being aggressive. But I think the only way the Vikings really pick up the phone and start calling other teams heading into the trade deadline would be if they win the next 2 weeks. Now, there are a couple of position groups where I don't think the Vikings would trade for them whatsoever. And number one, obviously, being wide receiver. You got Jefferson, you got Addison, you got a ton of depth there now. So I don't think they would trade for a wide out. Edge rusher as well. You got 3 edge rushers that are all fighting to get out there on the field, so they wouldn't do that. Same with offensive line. Now, maybe if they had a major injury, they would trade for an offensive lineman, but I think that's unlikely. Then also the tight end position, Hawk, Oliver, you like what you have there. But besides that, all the other position groups could use an upgrade. And we're going to start off with the defensive line here and talk about Dexter Lawrence. Now, I know what you might be saying. Patrick, we're all good at defensive tackle. We don't need somebody else. I hear you. I agree with you. But also, the Vikings obviously don't need a defensive tackle. But Lawrence would take this group to another level. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best players in football. He just straight up is that. I mean, honestly, all Vikings fans, you want to go see how good Dexter Lawrence is? Just go turn on the tape from the 2022 wildcard game. This guy absolutely dominated Garrett Bradbury in that matchup. And I think if you would bring in Dexter Lawrence, that would give the Vikings the best defense in the NFL by far. I already think they are the best defense in the league, but could you imagine if they added Dexter Lawrence to the interior of that defensive line, where you would have Dexter Lawrence, Hargrave and Allen, Van Ginkel and Grenard? That's absolutely insane. That's one of the best front fives that you could possibly have in NFL history. So there's no doubt about that, but the problem with this is I still don't believe the Giants would be willing to trade him away. I think the only way the Giants would want to move off Dexter Lawrence is if like a team sends them a Godfather offer and they're like, all right, clearly we're not winning a lot of games this year. Let's maybe do right by Dexter Lawrence, send him to a very good franchise, a good organization that's trying to compete for a Super Bowl. And also, I'm sure every player defensively, if their team's GM, called them, was like, hey, man, we're trading you. And they're like, oh, man, where am I going? And they say Minnesota, and you get to go play with Brian Flores and that unit. I'm sure every defensive player would be thrilled to come to the Vikings. But what would it take? Maybe a first and a third. But even I don't even think that's enough. Now maybe you include like a Hargrave or an Allen and a first, and maybe that gets it done. Or maybe you include Dallas Turner and a first round pick for Dexter Lawrence. I don't know if I would do that, but again, I just don't know if a first round pick and a third round pick gets it done. But if the Giants would ever say yes to that, you do that trade in a heartbeat because this guy's just unbelievable. And honestly, like the raw numbers for him doesn't really speak to how good he is. Like you see the sack number, it's nothing crazy there, but this guy is just one of the best run defenders in the entire league. He two gaps at a high level. He gets pressure from the interior, and truly one of the most fun players to watch in the league. So he's a trade target number one for me. And even his PFF grades this year, when he's Giants fans would honestly say he hasn't been great this season, but he's graded out very well. Like 81.2 overall, 10th in the league, pass rush, top 13, run defense, not great, but still solid for a down year. So he would be number one, incredibly unlikely. But a guy who I think would have a chance, that's Alvin Kamara. Now, Alvin Kamara, I think he's going to get traded this season. I do have my doubts if it is to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, again, the only way I think the Vikings pick up the phone here is if the Aaron Jones injury is incredibly serious. And the Vikings are just saying, hey, we want to be more of a run-first team. We got to get some more talent in that backfield. And, do we want Jordan Mason ripping off 20, 25 carries a game? Not necessarily. Where you could bring in Alvin Kamara, where Kamara at this point is just a better version of Aaron Jones. Tremendous pass catcher. Follows his blocks really well. Just still a stud and a playmaker with the ball in his hands. So if the Aaron Jones injury is serious, yeah, 100%. I would call the Saints about AK. Now, the problem with AK is his contract. It's incredibly complicated. The Saints have restructured this. I mean, it feels like almost 10 times over the last couple of years. So I don't know how much money the Vikings would be taking on, but here is just his base salary number, $9.7 million this year, $18.63 the following year. But again, if you trade for him, you could probably cut him. That wouldn't be the cap hit. Obviously, if the Vikings traded for him, but that's just the base number there. And this guy, he's been awesome. Great dual threat running back. It's actually hilarious. He has never crossed over 1,000 yards in his career in terms of on the ground, which is just unreal. You would think Kamara would have 5 seasons of 1,000+ rushing yards, but obviously a great pass catcher. Over 500 yards through the air this past season in 14 games. So I would be in on a Kamara trade, but again, that's only if the Aaron Jones injury is serious. But you guys let me know. What would you do? Would you trade for Alvin Kamara? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. Now, obviously, I will say the Saints, I think they're going to be a fire sale this year. They have to at least eventually. And Kamara could be on the trade block. So you guys let me know your thoughts if you guys would trade for Kamara. All right, number 3 here. We're going to talk about Denzel Ward, cornerback of the Cleveland Browns. Another trade, which is probably pretty unlikely, but the Cleveland Browns, 1-2 start. They lose their next couple of games, which they will lose to the Vikings in Week 5. Maybe they could be trying to have a little fire sale there. But, Denzel Ward, he's still one of the better corners in the league. And, PFF grades aren't really too good for him. But, over the past couple of years, this guy has been one of the best cover corners, a freak athlete. Would be kind of cool to pair him up with Jeff Okudah, get the Ohio State corners in there. But, obviously the PFF grades aren't great, but this guy's a hell of a football player. And I think he would be a great scheme fit with Brian Flores. He can get up, run some press man. He can do a lot of different things. And I'll tell you what, if you would add Denzel Ward to this Vikings cornerback room, I mean, you're taking it to another level. Like, then you would have Murphy, Ward, and Isaiah Rodgers, and then Okudah and McLaughlin are just rotational guys. That would be pretty awesome. Now, you could also include a guy like Greg Newsome from the Browns on here, which I think Newsome would be a more likely trade target. As he could just hop in the slot, and he's just a more versatile player than Ward. But obviously Ward has more talent. And, when you're talking about trades defensively for the Vikings, you're really just looking for icing on the cake moves. Because, honestly, I can make an argument. You're looking for sprinkles on top. You're looking for the cherry on top. Because you already have the base. You already have the cake. you're just looking to kind of make those moves to get you over the top. Where it's like, okay, right now I think the Vikings have the best defense in the league. Okay, let's make a move to make them the best defense of the past decade. Let's try to make a move to make them one of the best defenses of all time. Like, those are the types of moves the Vikings are, trying to pull off right now if you are trying to get a trade defensively. But speaking about this game coming up, if you guys want the Vikes to beat the Steelers, hit that thumbs up icon down below. 3-1 on the table for this football team. So if you guys could like today's show, let's see if we can get up to 500 likes. So if you guys could hit that thumbs up icon. Now, we'll talk about 2 more trade targets here in a second, but today's episode of Vikings Now is brought to you guys by Prize Picks. Now, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Now, download the app today, plug in promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And Prize Picks is super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you guys get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40-plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. They also put their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They also offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. So if you guys could, download the Prize Picks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk about a player that I would absolutely love to trade for, Budda Baker, the safety for the Arizona Cardinals. This guy, first off, is one of my favorite players in the league. This guy plays all over, man. Extremely versatile safety. You can put him in the deep half. You can put him in the box. And I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic when I say this. He would be one of the best safeties in the league under Flores. Like, he would take a Kyle Hamilton S-jump because this guy's already top 10, one of the best defensive players in the league. And honestly, I feel like he doesn't get the attention he deserves because he's playing for the Cardinals in Arizona. But this guy deserves a lot of love, and if you would put him with Flores and the rest of those guys defensively, he would be a problem. And also, obviously, you would improve your defense this year, but this could maybe be your Harrison Smith replacement. Why not? Like, you're probably going to have to draft a safety either this draft or the next draft. So why not just use one of those draft picks that you're going to spend on a safety on a proven commodity in Budda Baker? But if I had one dream, trade target, it would be tough for me to decide between Budda Baker and Dexter Lawrence. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence is, a better player, more valuable player, but something about those safeties in Flores' system that I would absolutely love to see. And you would have him under contract until 2027, which is another advantage. So you'd obviously get the rest of this year. You get 26, you get 27. And even, Budda Baker's getting paid a lot of money. He is worth that. Like, you think about it, Cam Bynum's getting $15 million a year. I would probably say Budda Baker is, $5 million more valuable on a per-year basis than Cam Bynum. So, Budda Baker, if you could somehow, wear that purple and gold this season, sign me up. But, again, a lot of that would have to do with the Cardinals, losing the next couple of games. And obviously the Vikings getting hot. But most of these trade targets are unlikely, but you never know. Budda Baker would be a fantastic pickup. And another guy I would love defensively here, Demario Davis of the New Orleans Saints. Demario Davis is still playing some great football. I'm not going to lie. I have not been watching a lot of Saints football this past season, and I was just checking out how Demario Davis was playing, and he's having a great, great year. And he's been great for the last 4 seasons. Like, he is one of the best tacklers in the league. He's got great instincts. He can stop the run at a very high level. He can defend the pass. And, what I was so shocked about, this guy's a third-graded linebacker in the league, according to PFF. He's got a 90.4 overall grade. He's got the best run defense grade in the entire league at 92.8. Now, understand, like obviously the Vikings don't have a need for a linebacker, but Demario Davis and Blake Cashman, that's one of the best duos you could have. And then you just got Ivan Pace kind of being that Swiss Army knife where you don't, force him to play almost every single early down. I like the idea of Demario Davis. It also probably wouldn't cost as much as like a Budda Baker, Dexter Lawrence. So I guess if I had to, name one guy for the Vikings to trade for, including price and what you would have to give up, I think for me it would be Demario Davis. Then I'd probably go Budda Baker, and then like Dexter Lawrence, best player out of all those guys, but it would just cost a lot to trade for him. But yeah, I would go Demario Davis. But you guys, let me know your thoughts down below. And appreciate all of you guys for taking time out of your day to watch today's show. See you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes. John Scheffler, what's going on, man? Good to see you in the building. Trey Brown in the house as well. Clay, what's going on? Goober in the building. You know we aren't beating the Lions this year. Yeah, the Lions look pretty awesome on Monday night. The Lions are the one team where when fans are kind of talking shit to the Vikings, I just kind of say, yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, you guys own us. You guys are the better team. You guys are the better franchise. You run the division. Credit to you. Like, but when it's like Packers fans, Bears fans, it's like, all right, you guys are just talking nonsense. But the Lions, they're legit. Chef was saying, man, it looks so bad against Green Bay, and then it looks so good the next two games. Yeah, talking about the Lions, I mean, I think the Lions personnel got incredibly underrated this offseason. Like, you think about the blue chippers they have. Like, you still got Penei Sewell, the best offensive lineman in the league. Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best edge rushers. You got the best running back duo with Gibbs and Montgomery. You got maybe a top 3 wide receiver duo in J-Mo and Amon-Ra. You got a great tight end. You got a damn good quarterback in Jared Goff. I'm going to say this take about Jared Goff. If you don't have Jared Goff as a top 10 quarterback, I will just discredit everything you have to say about the quarterback position. This guy is criminally underrated. I thought it was only Ben Johnson. I thought it was only Sean McVay. Now he's got another offensive coordinator. He's still got the best offense in the league. Like, obviously, I understand he's got a ton of weapons around him. He's got a good system, but this guy delivers. He makes clutch throws over and over again. And what I thought was so telling in that Ravens game, 4th and 2, you're in your own territory. You got a chance to close the game out. You have ran for 225 yards up to that point. What's the play call from Dan Campbell? He's trusting Jared Goff to make a throw. So, and also Jared Goff has killed the fucking Vikings over the last 2 years. So I think he's criminally underrated. Still a top 10 quarterback. But yeah. But let's get back on the Vikings talk here. We'll be diving into a mailbag here in a couple minutes. So if you guys got a question, hashtag Vikings, or if you guys want to super chat, support the show. Haven't gotten a super chat just yet. So if you guys want to help us out here, sending a super chat would be fantastic. But get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings in the live chat. Ask what you want around the Steelers game. Could be about Carson Wentz, JJ. Could be about Aaron Rodgers. Whatever you guys want to ask. Could be about me. Whatever you want to get down there. Just make sure you guys include hashtag Vikings. Reed Southern, appreciate you for getting a question in there. DDD, what's going on, man? Clay, I'm broke. Don't worry about it. If you guys can't super chat, no worries at all. But I still want to do a mailbag, Clay. So if you could, get a question in there. Hashtag Vikings down below in the live chat. Same with you, Chase. What's going on, man? Chase and Lambert. We got a bunch of real ones in the building. Camper in the house. SKOL Nation, Ryan Manley. Yeah, if you guys could, get a question in there. Raj, Goober, Savage Jr., Jacob Dong, Scheffler, Trey Brown. Get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings in the live chat. John Scheffler saying, I'm feeling confident you pull the game out since you're playing at home as long as your young quarterback plays somewhat decent. Talking about when we play the Lions? Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the quarterback for the Vikings. Sasquatch just joined. What are we talking about? We're about to get into a mailbag, Sasquatch. So if you want your question answered, hashtag Vikings in the live chat. We're about to dive into it. Jesse, appreciate you. Any questions about JJ, feel free. Appreciate you, DDD. Savage, shout out to you. All right, we should be good on questions. So I appreciate you guys. But again, if we're in this mailbag, keep on getting those questions in there. Also, if you guys could super chat, greatly appreciate it. Clay asking beer or wine. I'm a beer guy. I think I'm allergic to red wine, or at least some red wines, which is pretty unfortunate. But if I'm having wine, it's probably white wine. I actually had a huge realization in my life the other day, which is it was actually a big moment for me. And I'm going to get really personal with you guys here for a second. Super, super personal here. So my whole life, I've been a Miller Lite guy. Miller Lite, best beer by far. I've officially changed. I think I'm a Dos Equis guy now. Dos Equis is my favorite beer by far. And I never thought I would move off Miller Lite. So that was a big time moment. just got to get personal with you guys. Really peel behind the curtains here. So if you guys want to let me know what your favorite beer is, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, Dos Equis getting the top nod for me now. Deer Hollow in the building. What's going on? Unfortunately, bored. Appreciate you. Clay. Z Cool saying, I like Miller Lite, but changing up from time to time is always okay. See, the thing is, I was a Miller Lite for since I was in high school, or since I was 21 years old. But yeah, I don't know. Dos Equis is now just my favorite. Dos Equis, Stella is probably honestly ahead of Miller Lite now for me. I don't know if it's just me growing up, and I don't like light beer as much, but yeah, Dos Equis is fantastic. Bud Platinum. Never had a Bud Platinum in my life. Yeah, Dos goes hard. I love Dos Equis. Dos Equis with a lime. Corona's always been up there for me. Yeah, Dos Equis, number one now. All right, let's dive into this mailbag. If you guys got a question, just make sure you guys super chat or use hashtag Vikings, but let's do it. What's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, a good old-fashioned mailbag where it's just me and you guys chopping it up about your Minnesota Vikings. As we got a fun week. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers in Dublin, Ireland. It's going to be a ton of fun, but let's start off with my main guy, Z Cool. Love Z Cool. Shout out to you, man. But saying, when will we see a Gink 6, or will Isaiah Rodgers hog all the defensive scores this year? That's a great question, Z Cool. I don't know if you're watching my preview from earlier this week, but my bold prediction for the Vikings versus Steelers game is we will get the Gink 6. And how awesome would it be that Van Ginkel would have a Gink 6 against Rodgers in London, but now also Ireland? So that's my bold prediction. I think we will get a Gink 6 eventually. And this isn't just all vibes. I actually do think he's got a good chance. Rodgers loves taking all the underneath stuff this year. And with obviously, Flora, now obviously it's banks on Van Ginkel actually playing. Might have gotten word on that when you guys are seeing this, but assuming he is playing, I think it could happen this weekend. Rodgers loves taking everything underneath, and when you just consistently go underneath against the Minnesota Vikings, you're not always going to guess the coverage correctly. So that's when Van Ginkel, if he's lined up, pops back real quick, intercepts one. So I think we got a good chance at a Gink 6 this upcoming weekend. But Jacob Dong coming in, what's going on, saying, Pat, how do you think JA3 is going to fit back into our offense, and who do you think is a better pass-catching back, Aaron Jones or Alvin Kamara? All right, first part here. How do you think JA3 is going to fit back into our offense? Smooth as butter. Kevin O'Connell's been raving about him this week, saying he's got fresh legs. He's in fantastic shape. And I think, Jordan Addison is literally like that final infinity stone right now, where it's just going to make everything better. You got Jefferson's one of the stones. Darrisaw is one of the stones. I'll put TJ Hawkinson as a stone right now. So Hawk gets a stone, Jordan Mason and the run game get a stone, and then you just plop on in Jordan Addison, and the whole offense gets a spark. So I think he's just going to make it better. It's also just going to force other defenses where you almost have to run cover two. You have to have two high safeties, because if you don't, that means one of the guys is one-on-one, probably will be Jordan Addison. And then if you are in cover two, then the Vikings can run all over them. So I just think the offense almost gives some of these teams an unsolvable problem. But Aaron Jones or Alvin Kamara, better pass catching back. Love Aaron Jones, but this is Alvin Kamara. Savage Jr. saying, do you think when JJ is back that his play will improve with Christian Darrisaw? Yeah, obviously. 100%. Any quarterback's play will improve with Christian Darrisaw in the lineup. If Wentz didn't have Darrisaw, I'm sure he wouldn't have looked as good as he did this previous week. But yeah, JJ is going to look a lot better when he has Darrisaw there. Once Jordan Addison gets there, he'll hopefully have all 5 starting offensive linemen, and wait and see what happens over the next 2 weeks. But I'm pretty confident that JJ will be starting Week 7 against the Eagles, no matter what happens. So yeah, JJ is going to look a lot better with Christian Darrisaw now playing. Clay saying, do you think we will make Aaron see Ghost? He was seeing ghosts last year. Aaron Rodgers struggled against this Brian Flores defense, and I think this defense is better than what they were last year. So, yeah, 100%. Most quarterbacks see ghosts against the Minnesota Vikings. Really, the only quarterback that has killed this Flores system is Jared Goff, which is so funny to think about. Even a guy like Stafford has had some success against Flores, but Yeah, most quarterbacks see ghosts. Like, I still remember that clip of it was Brock Purdy. Who we think about this? Brock Purdy. This was actually when Jordan Mason was on the Niners. He had like all the weapons when Ayuk was still playing the last year. He had everybody, available, and he comes up to Flores after the game and he's like, "Yo, your scheme is absolutely crazy." Like, these guys are just in awe of it. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers, good luck this Sunday. DDD saying we're going undefeated in Europe. I agree. We'll be at the London game. That's awesome. After the bye, it gets tasty. Can we beat the Eagles? Just an awesome question. An awesome lead up to the question. We're going undefeated in Europe. I'll be at the London game. After the bye, it gets tasty. Can we beat the Eagles? Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. It's going to be a tough matchup, though. Philly is still a wagon. Now, I don't think Philly is nearly as good as they were last year, but they still deserve the top nod in the NFC. We get them at home. You're coming off a bye. It's probably going to be J.J. McCarthy starting. And what a storyline that would be. What if J.J. comes back week 7? Vikings move to 5-1. We beat the Eagles. And then he takes on his former college head coach that following Thursday in Los Angeles, taking on Jim Harbaugh. If the NFL, if you want to rig some storylines, rig the Vikings to beat the Eagles and JJ as the starting quarterback. That would have some great storylines leading into that Thursday matchup. But DDD, I appreciate you, Brody. Now let me ask you guys this. Got a lot of mixed responses on this question. I've seen this getting debated back and forth. Who is the more important player to the Vikings? Is it Christian Darrisaw or is it Justin Jefferson? Give me a 71 for CD. Give me an 18 for Jefferson. Now, I think there was no wrong answer to this. Whoever you think, you can make a really good case. For me personally, and I listen, I flip-flop back and forth on this all the time. For me personally, I would go Justin Jefferson, mainly just because the whole offense is ran around him. But also, I can make the same argument. Like, Jefferson isn't as good when Darrisaw is not playing just because you don't have the time. So I can see both sides, but I'll still be typing my 18. Now we'll get to more questions here in a second, but today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, and you and I make decisions every day, but PrizePicks being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. If you guys download that, plug in promo code CLNS, we'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. On PrizePicks, it's super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40-plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They also offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. So download the PrizePicks app today. Plug in promo code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Reed Southern coming in with the next question. Appreciate you, my guy. Saying, I hope J.J. McCarthy does good, but I think Carson Wentz is going to do us better for this year. But I also agree with you, giving J.J. McCarthy the reps for further of the Vikings. What do you think? Yeah, I also disagree with people saying that Carson Wentz is better than JJ right now. I understand it may look like it. Like, obviously the Vikings dropped 48 points in Wentz's first game starting, but there's context to everything. JJ looked awful in his first 2 starts, but I also think JJ, like, if he would have played Sunday, it would have been the exact same. Like, I don't think anything would have changed. I don't think it was Wentz, like, giving this team that juice. I just think, you got Darrisaw back. The defense got a little healthier with Van Ginkel playing now. So I do disagree with that take out there where it's like, oh, Carson Wentz is better than JJ right now. I don't think we can definitely say that. I think JJ's shown more pop. But again, that's just me. I'm probably a little biased towards JJ, but yeah, I think he, no matter what, should be the starter week 7. That's just where I stand. Again, I don't think there's a wrong answer to that question. Trey Brown saying, if every player on our team was in their prime, would we win the Super Bowl? Carson Wentz, Adam Thielen, Jonathan Allen back in their prime? That's a fucking awesome question, Trey Brown. So if every player on our team was in our prime, would we win the Super Bowl? Well, we also got to assume this is the case for every other team, right? Like every other team has all their players in their prime. All right, let me just think about this. So the first team I thought of was the Rams. Like if they had Matthew Stafford in his prime and Devontae Adams in his prime with Puka Nacua, I mean that would be a problem. But yeah, prime Carson Wentz, prime Adam Thielen with Jefferson, Addison, prime T.J. Hawkinson, which is also sad to say that T.J.'s not in his prime anymore. But yeah, Jonathan Allen, even Hargrave back in his prime. That's a great question. Like, I would love to do that experiment with if you went through every single NFL team. You're like, all right, all of their players are in the prime of their career. Who would be the Super Bowl favorite? I mean, the Vikings would definitely be up there. I think the Rams would be much improved. I'm trying to think about other teams. Like, you also think about like a team like the Commanders. Like, think about this: Bobby Wagner and Von Miller on their defense. Like, what if both those guys are in their prime? Marshawn Lattimore's over there. Like, prime Lattimore, prime Wagner, prime Von Miller. Also, we would get Harrison Smith in his prime, so that's another advantage for the Vikings. That's a hell of a question, Trey Brown. That would be a fun video to do one day. So shout out to you. But would they win the Super Bowl? 100%. Unfortunately, Board coming in saying, what positions do you think the Vikings are lacking in? None. If I'm being honest, like top to bottom, this roster is stacked. Actually, if I am being honest, I'm gonna say the quarterback position. Like, that's the worst position group on the Vikings. You got a 22-year-old J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz, and you still just beat a team 48-10. So like offensive line's good, tight end's good, wide receivers good, running back good, D-line check, linebacker check, corners now shockingly check, safeties check. Yeah, Vikings are good top to bottom, but I appreciate you. Twisted Wizard, what's going on? Irish people are Steelers fans, but once they see that red-headed quarterback, the fans will switch up, I imagine. 100%. Do you think Carson Wentz, a true redhead? I don't know if you guys know. I'm a redhead too. I don't know if you guys can see it throughout the YouTube videos, but Kevin O'Connell also is 16-4. Yeah, 16-4 with a redheaded quarterback. That's got to mean something. So yeah, I mean that's gonna be a ton of fun to see Carson Wentz, the good old redhead, in Dublin, Ireland, and we'll see. We'll see if he can get it done. I think he will. Listen, Wentz, I got high expectations for him. He's got the best support system in the league. He's still a good quarterback. I think the Vikings offense will be just fine this weekend against the Steelers defense. But Jesse, coming in, saying, how concerned are you with J.J. McCarthy and his development? I trust KOC, but there's always a bust in every quarterback draft. That's a good point. Like, you look at that quarterback draft, like Caleb, he's probably going to end up working out. Drake May, looks really good. Jaden Daniels looks good. I think Michael Penix and Bo Nix will both be busts, though. I cannot see those guys getting second contracts with their team. So I'd probably say JJ, like, yeah, it hasn't looked good, but we've also gotten 8 quarters of tape. 8 quarters. Like, it's tough to have a take about the guy when he's also played 2 preseason games, 8 quarters of real football. I can't really say anything about the development just yet, and like Kevin O'Connell's gotten the most out of every quarterback. So I'm assuming whatever JJ's ceiling is with his work ethic and with KOC being the sicko he is, he'll reach that ceiling. No, Carl saying, I know the draft is far away, but what is currently the position to target? Also, what part of the stream on Sunday are we giving away the Addison signed ball? Great question. It'll be right after the game. Jordan Addison signed football. We've been getting a bunch of raffle tickets over the last month, so we'll be giving that away on the stream this Sunday. But what position to target in the draft? Corner or safety. I'd probably say secondary. You could also maybe, if you want to go luxury pick, like a Jeremiah Love, go running back. But yeah, I'd probably say corner or safety. But the real answer is just BPA. The Vikings should do BPA for the next 5 years. Your roster's good enough, so that should be the draft plan. But Noah, I appreciate you. And I also appreciate everybody who watched this entire video. If you guys made it to the end, just give me a SKOL down below in the comment section. And see you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes. Alrighty. Shout out to everybody for tuning in. Cannot wait for this Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Paranormal, much love from Steelers Nation and Steelers Chat Sports. Shout out to you, Paranormal. Shout out to Jack Sperry. Guy's a football genius over there. You got a good one. Big OB saying, do you think McCarthy will be better with a full offense? Yeah, every quarterback would be better with a full offense. So, yeah, I'm with you. But listen, we're going to get on out of here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. See you also Sunday, bright and early, 7:15, 7:30 around then. So shout out to Lego Fellow, Connor, Chase, Clay. Who do I got in tonight's game? Give me Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. But we'll see you guys later. As always, SKOL Vikes.